At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too. Because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger. We're taking a look at a radar from earlier this morning and late last night. And let me tell you something. We did see a little bit of shower activity trying to work its way in. A lot of what you see on the radar there didn't most likely reach the ground. But you know what? There may be a few sprinkles out there on the coast, some of the higher elevations, and the valley most likely remaining dry. So that was expected. And we did see the clouds move in yesterday afternoon and last night. There are still some leftover clouds this morning, but they're not going to produce any rainfall. But it's a little overcast in some spots. Those clouds will dissipate, though, through the morning and afternoon. You're looking at a live shot from our Divine Sky Cam and looking at another gorgeous morning here in Northern California. And now we're going to take a look at the Lake Shastina Golf Resort Sky Cam, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. Boy, you got, of course, the overcast skies there as well. No rain, no snow. And if you look at the mountain, it doesn't look like there was any fresh snow that went on top of it last night from yesterday's precipitation or last night's precipitation. But nonetheless, we did see a few light showers out there. Gorgeous start to the morning in Lake Shastina Golf Resort. This is also out on the coast now, looking at Crescent City Harbor District. And we've got those low clouds. That marine layer is still kind of hanging tough there. All right, take a look at your Wednesday, June 3rd, Krueger's quick cast here. And let's get you out the door here for this morning, shall we? Temperatures in the upper 60s, even around 70 for Red Bluff. I tell you what, a fairly mild start to the day for the valley. 40s and 50s for the higher elevations. There's a look at your skeeter meter here for today. And this week, at a 2 on a scale of 0 to 5. You can see some of the advice that the Shasta Mosquito and Vector Control has for you to prevent your yard from becoming a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Items outside your home. These are common water holding sites. Tire, miscellaneous items and junk. Toys, tire swings, basketball hoop bases. Those can hold water. And lily pots and water gardens. Call the number on your screen if you have any issues with mosquitoes in your area. Take a look at out the door this morning. Yeah, still some clouds this morning, but those will be dissipating. And I do expect more in the way of that marine layer, low clouds for the coast this morning. All right, let's take a look at that satellite image. Unfortunately, some of the data is missing for the satellite data, but before it did, you can certainly see the progression of those clouds. We saw the clouds increase through the day yesterday, really thicken up overnight, giving us a slight chance for some of those stray sprinkles and light showers we saw last night and early this morning. Now that's all moving on out, and we're looking at drier conditions and clearing skies through the morning. Let's take a look at Futurecast. There are those clouds we're seeing this morning, and they're dissipating before noon, although still the low clouds and some patchy fog for you along the coast, and still even a few afternoon clouds for some of the higher elevations. I'm showing you this because look at that. Monday, Tuesday, a little blip in there, right? Now, I don't anticipate at this point for there to be much rain, if any, especially for the valley. But some of the long-range forecast models are indicating that we may see some wet weather by early next week. More on that, that's what we call a teaser. More on that in your deeper dive forecast here in just a bit. But right now, you can see your daytime highs for today, low 90s, maybe some mid-90s for the valley, 80s for most of the higher elevations. And for tonight, temperatures around 60 for the valley, 30s and 40s. And there you can see temperatures right around 50, upper 40s, low 50s for the coast. All right, here's a look at your 7-day outlook for the valley. So generally, mid to upper 90s by Thursday, Friday, upper 80s over the weekend. And you see how we're still seeing that downward progression in the temperatures? This is that slight chance for showers I was talking about for Monday, Tuesday. So we're going to have to watch for that. Now, what you'll notice when we look at that 7-day forecast, you're not going to see any rain coming from those clouds for Monday or Tuesday, but that may change. Here's the bottom line. If you have if you work outdoors and have jobs that you have that could be impacted by the rain, or you just have things that you got to do outside that could be impacted by the rain, don't cancel them just yet. Don't cancel those plans just yet. Just keep a close eye on the forecast. I'm going to be monitoring this very closely and keep you updated. In the meantime, we take a look at our fire weather forecast. And the winds are something we're going to have to watch later today. Now, by about 5 o'clock this afternoon, you can see, yeah, now we're getting in the probably even 30-mile-an-hour range. And by the way, even to the north, look at Shasta Valley, central Siskiyou County, eastern mountains, maybe some gusty winds there. The wind's not as strong for Thursday, but still breezy at times. Friday, maybe even stronger with those winds. And then Saturday, yeah, the wind's kind of picking up again. And this is kind of a trend that we see typically as we start getting into the summer months. And that is, you see the calmer winds in the morning, and then the winds can pick up through the afternoon. And that's essentially what we've got going on here over the next several days. So what does that mean for our fire weather risk? Well, the fire weather risk takes into account temperature, wind, and humidity. Humidity is the numbers you see on your screen there, by the way. So yeah, by the afternoon, we're in the low 20s. But there you can see as we go, yeah, see by around early afternoon, we're talking single digits and low teens for tomorrow. That's going to elevate that fire weather risk. Friday, again, somewhere in the mid-teens or so, fire weather risk does actually elevate a little bit more for your Friday. And then for your Saturday, not as bad, but still elevated fire weather risk. Why? Again, because low humidity, as you can see there from those numbers. And number two, the winds. But the temperatures are starting to drop on Saturday. That should help a little bit. Once again, we take a look at our Divine Sky Cam, and you can see some of the overcast skies that we do have out there this morning, at least some of the clouds. Checking in with some of you this morning. We've got a good morning from Jerry Smith Bell. Curtis Brown, if I'm not mistaken, are you still on the coast there? Good morning, Mike. Not very much cooling overnight. It was 70 degrees here AM early. I'm guessing maybe back in Red Bluff. Then, of course, we've got Rachel saying good morning. There's Lake Chestina Golf Resort, by the way, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. Beautiful. Lots of clouds out there this morning. Different perspective out at Soda Ridge, looking at Mount Shasta. And Rachel saying good morning. Getting hot. It certainly is, and it has been getting pretty hot, too. All right, there's a look at Soda Ridge. Let's take a look now at, what camera's next? Lassen. Ooh. Beautiful. Look at all the green, just from all the snow melting and the rain, right? So it's nice and green right now. Looks gorgeous. So looking nice, but no snow, as you can see in the distant mountains there. There's a look at Lake Oroville, or at least a vantage point from Lake Oroville, because we're not looking at the lake itself. You can see some of the high clouds that we do have out in that area. This is now a look at Main Street Chico and Highway 32. You got the sunny skies, as you can see there, but most likely still some high clouds out there in many cases. Highway 99 at Neal Road. Let's take a look at Crescent City Harbor District, low clouds. That marine layer really holding on strong here. Out towards Bald Hill West, yeah, some clouds, making for kind of a nice sunrise, but no fog for the Hoopa Valley. Here's a look at Scott Valley. Yeah, some clouds, no rain. You're just looking at some clouds. Those will be dissipating here later on today. Well, Coffee with Krueger would not be possible without our sponsor, Wind River Resort and Casino. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. Hey, by the way, they got some great entertainment coming up here. Of course, we talked about yesterday, Friday, June 19th, they got the 12th annual Bacon and Brew Fest. But some of the live entertainment we got coming in here, Friday, August 14th, actually, sooner than that will be Tracy Lawrence, June 22nd. Tickets are on sale The tickets are on sale June 22nd. All right, so Uncle Cracker is on August 14th. And the second show, there are two shows now for Matt Matthews, comedian there. That's for a show on Friday, September 18th. They've got an evening and then a late night one because there was so much demand that they added another show. Pretty cool. All right, once again, I want to thank Wind River for their support of Coffee with Krueger and Weather NorCal in general. So we got above average highs will continue this week. Winds will be a little gusty at times. Clouds on the decrease today, cooler by the weekend, and rain early next week. What am I talking about there? What's going on? Well, let's get into that with our deeper dive forecast. Starting off with, I think I've got the radar to start off here. And the reason I'm showing you the radar is because we actually did see, there it is, look at that, a little bit of rain. Now, some of this may have reached the ground, but it was nothing significant. And what I mentioned yesterday is that most likely for the areas along the coast, mountains north and east of the valley, if you see anything, you won't even notice it because all of this happened when you were asleep. Now, there may still be some leftover raindrops in some of those cars if they were left outside, but for the most part, wouldn't even know it. Temperatures are fairly mild, close to 70. In fact, right around 70 out in Red Bluff this morning. 49 degrees for Alturas, 57 degrees for Susanville, and we got those low 50s along the coast. Now, we're missing a lot of data. I'm not sure what's going on here, but it kind of disappears. That's because the data is missing. But we did see yesterday those clouds on the increase with this swirling area of low pressure, and of course now we got this trailing cold front. Those are the clouds that increased and moved on in yesterday afternoon, last night, and hence bringing a little bit of light rainfall for some of the mountains and along the coast. Now, what's happening is behind, if you look here, there's some clearing behind those clouds. That's what we've got in store for us later on today. So looking at two different forecast models. I'm going to show you them because we've got the GFS and we've got the American forecast. Let's start over. We got the GFS, which is the American forecast model. Then, of course, we've got the European forecast model. So let's start with the American forecast model right here. So what we've got here is that low pressure. That is going to be taking over and eventually allowing our temperatures to drop over the weekend, mid to upper 80s for the valley. This storm system, based off of the American forecast model, has it pushing through on Monday. That could bring us some wet weather based on this model, and then maybe some showers lingering on Tuesday, but most likely based on this model clearing out. Now, let's take a look at the European forecast model. Same story. There's that area of low pressure. That is what's going to keep us dry this weekend, but cooler for Saturday and Sunday. There's that wet weather. Look where it's going. Stays to our north. All right, so it's not expected to move over Northern California based off of this model. So we have some disagreement here. And this is where we've got to really start to try to fine-tune that forecast as we get closer. The GFS has been hinting at it over the last few days. It really wasn't anything worth mentioning. But this morning, I was looking at the GFS. I'm like, wow, it's getting a lot more aggressive with that rainfall. And that's why I wanted to point that out, is that the European forecast model has progressively been showing dry conditions even early next week. Now, if you look on Tuesday, I mean, there is a little bit of cloud coverage, a few showers trying to develop there, but for the most part, dry for Monday, Tuesday, based on the European forecast model. So bottom line is this. If you work outdoors and it can be impacted by the wet weather, say you're a roofer or work in construction of any sorts, pour concrete, don't cancel those jobs just yet. Don't cancel any outdoor plans you may have that may be impacted by the rain. It's something that you've got to it's a stay tuned type of forecast, right? All right, so let's take you in the next few days. So we've got still some clouds along the coast, maybe some afternoon clouds in the mountains, but otherwise the clouds we're seeing this morning are mostly dissipating and we're seeing more sunshine for most of Northern California. Now, what I expect even for the coast is, yeah, there will be some low clouds, there will be some patchy fog, but we're starting to see a few more breaks in those clouds for the coast over the next few days, including Friday. But still, again, that fog is going to be in some areas and mainly sunny skies everywhere else. But look at Saturday. Yeah, look at that. It's clearing out here for the coast. I think you're going to see more sunshine to start off the weekend and maybe even into your Sunday as well. So remember I was talking about that potential for rain early next week. The Climate Prediction Center is on board with that. And you can see here, it is putting in that potential for some showers. I'm not buying it just yet, but we'll see. All right. So here's your overall setup. It's been warm. You may have noticed that. But the reason why it's not getting over 100 degrees from this ridge is because of this right here. What it's doing is, as this colder air rides to the east-southeast, it rides over the ridge. So instead of the ridge having a nice prominent arch, right, that we see the dome, it flattens it out. So we've talked about this before. The deeper the dome, the hotter the temperatures are. So you have this dome, right? The center of that dome is where you have the hottest temperatures. The deeper that dome is, the hotter the temperatures will be. So when you flatten out that dome, what happens? The dome isn't as deep. And as a result, temperatures aren't as hot. So that's what we've got going on right now. In fact, this will take over this weekend, and that's the cooler temperatures I was talking about. But another reinforcing shot of cooler air coming in early next week. This is also that potential for showers Monday, Tuesday, but still no guarantees. I think it'll just be limited moisture is really what it's going to come down to. And then that's going to want to move out. High pressure is going to want to build in toward the end of next week, and it warms up. But even the Climate Prediction Center is saying, hey, listen, we're still looking at most likely temperatures near normal. And so when we look at the long range, the next 10 days, yes, it's warming up for the rest of the week, mid-90s, give or take through the week, right? Then we see near normal, right? Mid to upper 80s for Saturday, Sunday through Wednesday, and then ticking back up near the end of next week. So that's what it's looking like with the temperatures. Still not seeing triple digits, folks. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, at least over the next 10 days. Lake levels, yes, they're still looking good. We're looking at the elevations. See this, the minus. That's going to become pretty typical now. They're all seeing those very gradual drop in elevation, but that's normal this time of the year. You can see historical average still over 100% in all cases here. Wave heights are fairly low today, but by tomorrow they may start to increase. So I think if you have to be on the water, especially on a small boat, be aware that we're going to see some more aggressive wave heights in the next 24 hours. That may cause us to have a small craft advisory. Not just yet, I'm not seeing it just yet, but no alerts today with those winds from the northwest at about 5 to 10 knots. All right, so here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored by Dignity Health and Grange Co-op. All right, so Trinity County, you're looking at temperatures mainly 80s. So what you'll notice here, mid to upper 80s through Friday. There's that nice dip in the temperatures Saturday, Sunday, and we keep it that way for Monday, Tuesday of next week. For the coast, I've got you upper 50s, maybe around 60 by Thursday. More cloud cover, but still, I'm going to keep it dry. I'm going to keep it dry for everyone Monday, Tuesday. That may change, though. Stay tuned, right? There's the cooler temperatures over the weekend and early next week for the inland areas, Siskiyou County. Again, keeping it dry Monday, Tuesday, but that may change. Temperatures around 80, give or take, for Siskiyou County, Modoc County, mainly in the upper 70s, mid to upper 70s, although Altura is about 80. Eastern Mountains, you're going to be the 80s in most cases. 80 degrees for Chester, 87 for Paradise, 87 Quincy. And Chickletown, about 80 degrees. For the valley, yeah, it's the warmer spot, right? It's typical. Low to maybe some mid-90s for some of the warmer spots. Looking at your 7-day forecast for Chico, upper 90s Thursday, Friday. Looks like we're in the 80s by the weekend. 80s Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, cooler weather. 93 degrees for Redding, all the way down to Red Bluff, 93 for Palo Cedro, and 85 in Lakehead. All right, so here's your 7-day forecast for Redding. And what we've got here are those temperatures in the mid to upper 90s through Friday, upper 80s over the weekend. And I've got you in the mid 80s by the time we get ourselves into Monday, Tuesday. Rain? We'll see. We'll see. You caught me mid-sip there of my coffee. But that's why the show's called Coffee with Krueger, right? Because I'm having my coffee. We got a couple more people checking in. Jackie Dixon from Trinidad. She is saying, good morning, Marine layer holding on in Trinidad as expected. Thank you for the report, Jackie. Always nice to get that confirmation. By the way, the camera seems to be down. Boy, it's been up there for 3 years. Finally, it decided to go, all right, we're done. So I got to go check it out, see what's going on, maybe contact the owner of the resort and see what's going on, because I'd like to get that camera back up and running. It was a nice look, at least, of the coast. We've also got Catherine Schmidt saying, good, cool morning. It is. It's a nice, cool morning, although pretty mild for some of you in the valley. Still about 70 out towards Red Bluff this morning. Definitely a bit warmer out there. Well, folks, that's it. That's your show. What do you say we get out there and make it a great day? You know, we are going to be looking at those winds a little bit. If you have to mow, do it this morning. when it's cooler, when we don't have the winds blowing, and it's not as dry. But later this afternoon and evening, the winds are expected to pick up a bit. Humidity levels are going to be dropping as well. And with the heat, low to mid 90s, that will elevate that fire weather risk. So we need to do everything we can. See, the thing is, my phone buzzes at me throughout the day. And why? Well, because of a new fire that started. I don't want to see these fires start. Let's see what we can do to prevent that from happening. The good news is when these fires do start, typically the conditions are okay. So there you go. Yeah, Jackie's saying, miss seeing the elk every now and then. You know, the thing is, it was very rare that we would live be able to see the elk on that camera. But we did every once in a while. It was pretty cool. And we've certainly had the opportunity to see them in person when we've camped over there. So it's really awesome. But I'm in the process through this year of trying to make some connections on the coast where we can put up some cameras so we can get better perspective of what's going on the coast. Because a lot of you who don't live on the coast, right, who live in Redding or the valley in general or even in the mountains, like to get away and cool off in the summer, those cameras will be a great resource for you. Because here's the cool thing. The cameras that I have now, I want to show you something. Let's go to weathernorcal.com, and I'm going to show you something here. See where it says sky cams right here in the... there you go. See where it says sky cams right up here? I'm going to click on that, and you can see the cameras that we have up now. We've got a third one that'll be going up. We're in the process of finding the location where we're going to put it, but give it another month or so, and we'll have a third camera up, thanks to Elwood Ranch, by the way. And you can see here, you click on this little arrow with the box, it gives you a live look. Now here's the other cool part. Look at all of that weather data on the right side. So awesome. And on the very bottom here, it's got radar. So if there's rain heading our way, you can see where the rain is. You can see on the map where it is. That circle has an arrow pointing in the direction that the camera's point is. In this case, it's to the north. And then you go click back over here, and then you can take a look at the Lake Shastina Resort Skycam. Same thing, weather data. You've got all the information that you need. Sponsors, of course, you've got the Lake Shastina Golf Resort, which is where the camera is located. You've got the sponsor of the camera, Elwood Ranch. Has, I believe, some ranches up there. Has a ranch, at least, in Shasta County. But anyway, there you can see, of course, the clouds that we got there and some of the beautiful, right? Just beautiful. So I want this to be more than just two, and that's the plan. And if we can have some in the coast, how cool would that be if you're like, I would like to maybe go to the coast today or this weekend. Take a look at these awesome cameras that I'm going to have up on the coast, right? So let's see if we can get that going here, folks. Let's see if we can get that going. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this morning, folks. I hope you're all having a great start to your day. Here's another look at one of our cameras here, exclusive here to Weather NorCal, our Divine Skycam. We'll leave you with this and some other great cameras. In the meantime, you have yourselves a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, right here on Coffee with Krueger.